All right, so today we are out here with our new bundle nozzle and rackline nozzle package using the Chief XD nozzle for a fog tip and using our Elkhart brass 15/16 smoothbore tip on the same shutoff. It's being a 1.5 inch shutoff, straight through shutoff. We can use it as an inline valve to extend hose lines. This is the same combination we've got on the smoothbore side that's been on our bundles for some years now. What we've done this year is we've introduced it to the rackline package. When you go to pull a rackline off the engine, it's going to be equipped with a fog tip. If you have a fire, it's a defensive fire, you need to reach the penetration, you have some reason to believe you need something other than a fog tip, you can make the determination of the tailboard, go ahead and swap the tip for a smoothbore tip and make your fire attack. On the other end of the business, if you're using a smoothbore and you're doing fire attack and now we're in the mop-up phase and it's more advantageous to use a fog nozzle because you're not using as much water, you want to cover more area, you can simply take the smoothbore tip back off, replace it with a fog tip and continue operations. The last advantage of this is you can also get a smaller diameter hose for mop-up operations. For example, one of the 1.5-inch Wildland hoses, using a Wildland nozzle and attach it to the shutoff, it's going to be the same connection straight through, and use a little bit less water, a little bit less reach, a little bit less volume that you're using on that mop-up operation. And then lastly, to date, when we've done our Wildland operations with progressive hose lay, we've used our bundle package, or we've used a bumper line, or we've used a valve or something of that nature off the pump panel of the engine. We can now extend immediately 200 feet of rack line. It already has an inline valve, and use that to do initial knockdown if needed, and then swap the tip over to the to the Wildland package and the progressive hose lay, laying out additional 200 feet of Wildland hose for a 400-foot hose lay in a matter of minutes. Really, really fast, really, really easy. But let me show you what I'm talking about in the nozzles real quick. Let me take you to the more familiar one first. As you can see here, we've equipped this with an inline gauge, and we're going to do some pump tests today to validate the pump chart. This is the 15/16 nozzle. It's capable of flowing 185 GPM, that's its target flow, at 50 PSI. In the past, this has been a little bit of some confusion because we've had a 50 PSI nozzle on the bundle, we've had a 75 PSI nozzle on the rack line, and we've had 100 PSI, which I'm less concerned with putting on the bumper line. So you have 3 different nozzle flows and operations. The bumper line will continue to operate with a 100 PSI nozzle. It's a trash line, we use it for varied purposes, I'm not too concerned with that. The good news is your pumping operations for your pumper operators just got a lot simpler because your calculation to get your nozzle pressure 50 will be the same. The fog tip that we moved to is also 50 PSI fog tip, and if you look down the bore here, 50 PSI will also get you 185 GPM. So you're getting 2 different streams, but you're getting more versatility of the fog tip, and as I say, this will what we equipped on the rack line. So the calculations off Key Hose, that's our hose manufacturer that makes the combat ready, gave us a calculated PSI for pump discharge pressure of 95 PSI flowing one of our rack lines for 185 GPM. We've already done some testing today, and we found out that each engine, each piece of equipment, each nozzle, there's differences in manufacturing, there's differences in the way a hose is done, perhaps the why. There's been a few differences between maybe what we calculated and what Key calculated for theirs. Ours is actually gonna be 110, so the higher engine pressure to give you a rack line at 185 GPM. Anything a little bit less than that's going to be 150, 175 GPM, but our target is 185 when we're flowing like that. So let's walk this line out real quick, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. You can see we got 2 firefighters ready to start flowing. We are going to flow the 2 nozzles separately and then together. We'll maintain a 50 PSI. This simulates having a bundle deployed with both the Y side and your backup. So in this case, we have 100 feet of 1.88 combat ready hose on both sides. I'm going to walk down here real quick. I'll show you where we're at on the Y. We also have another inline gauge in the Y, so we can measure our pressure loss, our friction loss rather, as we go through the operations. Come on down with me. So here we have our standard gated Y. Of course, the primary attack line, the green means go, is always going to have the Y attached to the bundle. Same configuration we carried on the truck, with the exception of an inline gauge, and again we're measuring it at the discharge panel, at the pump panel itself, and we'll also measure our nozzle pressures just behind the nozzle with additional gauges there. So we have 100 feet each of a Y line, that's a Siamese line, and then we have another 100 feet, we've got 2 50-foot sections of 3-inch. The 3-inch hose has about 3 PSI friction loss on average for our 125 GPM. For us at 185, we're gonna have an 8 PSI, a 3 PSI loss again. Remains a 3 PSI loss for our operation here. So very, very minimal loss in the 3-inch hose. Most of your friction loss, which is still fairly minimal, is gonna occur in your tack lines, your 1.88, your 1.75 tack. So as we make our way to the pump panel, obviously you won't be able to hear me as well because the pump's running. So at that point, I'm just gonna not talk a whole lot. I'm going to go through the operation of what we're doing at the pump panel, but here's what we're doing in advance. We're going to go ahead and charge the Y through the 3-inch. At that point, we'll come back here, we'll get the other lines charged, and I'm going to walk you guys back up. I'm going to show you what pump pressures we're at, just starting out. At idle, we've been around 50 PSI for our discharge pressure. We'll walk up here and we'll independently look at each one as we see our gauges move, as we continue to go up in pressure and volume of those, okay? So come on up. You guys ready for water?
Okay, go ahead. Start the line.
The line is charged. What's your pressure at the nozzle? Static. REC, go ahead and open the smooth bore. Let me know. I'm going to idle up till you get to 50. Let me know when we get it. Just one side, just the smooth bore for now. REC, we're at 100 currently. You have 50 the nozzles, right?
Yes.
Go ahead and open up the second line, continue to flow, and we know when we get to 50 on both. You're at 50, correct?
Break it down for the nozzle. Stop.
REC, go ahead and shut it down.
I got 50 PSI over here, so go line.
REC, go ahead and shut both lines down. We'll come up and meet you guys. Alright, we're going to go ahead and go up now. We'll cut this video real quick and we're going to go up and take a look at the nozzle and show you guys where we're at with nozzle pressure. Okay. Our initial calculations for our updated pump chart were from the manufacturer's website. What we found today is they're off a little bit, again, probably because of our equipment. There's some differences in equipment, it's just the way the business works. I mean, our engine 62 is entirely possible, maybe a little bit different on that one too. We'll validate that as well. But for engine 61, our primary engine, we initially calculated an 85 PSI pump discharge pressure to give us 185 DPM off one line off our bundle. And then 90 PSI to give us 370 total gallons per minute off two lines for our Siamese, our dual bundle. What we found today in testing it is it's actually going to be right at 100 PSI for a single line, a little bit closer to 110 to give us two lines. That's not a lot of pressure still when you think about where we came down from. We're pumping 125, 150 PSI on almost every fire of their old nozzles. We're almost 50 PSI, in a lot of cases less, but getting 370 gallons per minute out two lines is fantastic. 185 out of a single line is also very good for initial attack on a house fire. So what I'm going to show you guys next, we'll have to step back a little bit because of the water spray. We'll open one nozzle, we'll take a quick look at the gauge from behind if we're not getting too wet. And then we'll open the second nozzle and take a look at what that drops to when we get the second one, and go ahead and wrap up from there. You guys ready? All right, let's go ahead and back up. Go ahead and have nozzle one open. Let's get up here real quick and take a look at the gauge. You can see he's right at about 65, 60 on the gauge. Now we're going up to nozzle two. Right? Nozzle 2 needs to operate at 50 PSI, getting at 185 DPM. When we go back to our primary line, nozzle 1. We're also right at the air level. So you can see the difference here. You're going to have to operate slightly different pressures when you hit two lines, obviously, because there's more water flowing, you got more friction loss taking place. It's nominal though, because most of that's occurring on a 3-inch line back here. So very, very little pressure, about 8 PSI truthfully, but we're gonna call it around 110 to make sure we're getting a good nozzle pressure. As you can see, entirely easy operation. The last thing we'll show you real quick is if these guys have to swap nozzles, we'll show you how quick that takes place. Guys, let's go ahead and swap nozzles between the two hoses. As he does that, once you look here, it's a standard 1.5" connection right here. We can use that for anything in our hose package other than obviously the large diameter storts and then our 2.5" couplings. But all of our primary tack lines will fit directly on here. We did a nozzle swap. When he goes to put on the fog nozzle, you go right into that fog nozzle operation. And in just seconds, they're reconfigured and ready to change their fire flow. The last thing I want to show you guys is the different flows, different patterns we'll get out of this nozzle for performance. So we're going to step back again. He's going to go through the whole sequence from all the way open to a power cone and then back down to as much of a straight stream. At the time we get down to his straight stream, we're going to have him reopen and we'll compare the stream between the straight stream and the smooth bore and see how much variation difference we get in performance there as well. Y'all ready? Come on back. All right, Firefighter Rios, we're going to go ahead and open that up, go through the different patterns. All the way down to straight stream. Make one quick adjustment. We're going to cut real quick and change that camera and take the water off the lens for you. To wrap this up today, first we're going to have Firefighter Watts on the smooth bore. Go ahead and open up the smooth bore and we'll see what a smooth bore looks like flowing 185 GPM at 50 PSI. We're going to have Firefighter Rios go ahead and open up his nozzle onto a straight stream. And compare performance. You can see the Chief XD, the stream's a little bit more broken obviously because it's a straight stream and not a true smooth bore. But that nozzle does a really good job of getting the nice straight stream with good tight pattern together. That's your hot minute for today, guys. Thanks for your time, and we'll do another one sometime soon. Bye.